Hi everyone, welcome to the show. This is State Street. State Street is one of the second oldest banks in the U.S., as well as they have $3.9 trillion under management and $43.3 trillion under custody and administration. So State Street is one of the largest, oldest banks in the U.S. Now, listen to what he has to say. He's from State Street.
The rise of digital currency, along with the tokenization of assets and cash, could cause huge disruption to traditional markets, and it could happen sooner than we think. Within the next 5 years, a new breed of digital exchange will list traditional assets in tokenized form. This is the belief of over half the asset managers and institutional investors who responded to our survey, which we did in partnership with Oxford Economics. Just under a third think that traditional markets will list digital assets. Investors see decentralized financial tokens and non-fungible tokens, which use blockchain technology to certify the authenticity and ownership of digital objects, as the biggest disruptors to traditional finance. Within the next 3 to 5 years, investors expect them to cause significant disruption. They lead investor sentiment over cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, central bank digital currencies, and tokenization of traditional assets. Yet around half of investors are confident that tokenization will create more transparency, improve risk management, and enhance liquidity. At State Street, we think digital currency and tokenization will take an increasing role in investor portfolios, and we are focused on creating solutions to meet our clients' evolving digital needs.
So State Street is positioning themselves for tokenization, NFTs, right? He said that they sent out a survey to their institutional clients, and they believe that tokenization of real-world assets, NFTs, DeFi, are going to be a massive disruptor in 3 to 5 years. Now, State Street is saying that they're going to position themselves to work with all their investors to make this a reality. So I found that pretty interesting. Like I said, one of the largest, oldest banks in the U.S. are tailoring to digital assets, NFTs, DeFi. The Bitcoin family emigrates to Portugal for a 0% tax on cryptocurrency. So this Dutch family moves to Portugal because they have 0% tax on cryptocurrencies. Now, I'm in the U.S. If you're in the U.S. and you moved out of the U.S. with a large amount of crypto, there is such thing as an exit tax where you would have to pay the taxes with whatever assets you leave with. So this isn't even possible for a U.S. citizen. Now, what is possible is crypto IRAs. iTrustCapital/Darren. If you use my link, you can get a $100 funding reward. And an IRA insulates you from capital gains taxes. So you can invest in crypto assets as well as precious metals. And if you use my link, $100 funding reward. So be sure to research IRAs as well as iTrustCapital. The Asian Development Bank and R3 teams for cross-border securities and transaction system. So in an arena with high-value transactions are moving across regulated markets through multiple parties and processes, trust is paramount and interoperability is never more critical. The project will be carried out in 2 phases, a designing phase to be completed by the end of March 2022 and a prototyping phase scheduled for the second quarter of 2022. So we're going to see this R3 project start making traction in 2022. So, with all of these projects, it has a snowball effect. If there's a lot of innovation, it's going to just keep moving with more players, more institutions. And you can see they're connected to over 400 institutions, global system integrators as well. So I found that pretty interesting. Now, this is an FDIC document. This came out on February 7th, 2022. And it reads that while there are many pressing issues the FDIC will have to address this year, key priorities are the Community Reinvestment Act, climate change, the Bank Merger Act, crypto assets, and the Basel III capital rule. All these priorities will require close collaboration among the federal banking agencies. Now, we've seen this push by the president's working group. CFTC and the SEC have teamed up in certain aspects. Now, the FDIC and the SEC were the laggards in the U.S. regulator space. So the FDIC getting ready to regulate crypto and it sounds like they're going to do it this year, is pretty important, and it's interesting that it's happening this year as well. Now, this is an IMF video that came out today, and it's the behind the scenes on central bank digital currency. So listen to this.
We're not the standard setter, so our articles of agreement give us certain powers, but certainly not those of a regulator. So we are working with the FSB, which is the regulatory body, in order to make sure that there is interoperability. Let me just point out that interoperability goes far beyond technology, right? So technology is one aspect, but it's really the institutional arrangement around cross-border transactions that is key here. And let me point to two different models that are possible. So one is where CBDCs in any currency can be held in any country, right? And so there you certainly have a risk of dollarization or CBDization, but that foreign CBDization. But of course, the response to that is sound macroeconomic policies, sound institutions. A country like Sweden, for example, is not too worried about being euroized or so, or dollarized, right? Because, it has very sound institutions, which is not the case for all countries. There's a second model, which is very different, where foreign CBDC would have to be exchanged through intermediaries, and so you just couldn't hold the foreign CBDC in your country, and so that would require very different standards and arrangements, and so it is.
All right, so the first model is every central bank holds every other currency, and the second model he talks about is few places that exchange one CBDC for the next. So I found that pretty interesting on the different designs. Well, we know that if you have a strong currency, there's no reason to swap to the dollar or euro. But a lot of these emerging markets, a lot of these developing nations, they would become dollarized overnight if they had the opportunity to convert into a more stable currency. So I think the first system is a little bit more hazardous to what the IMF and what the World Bank, these world banks are trying to figure out, right? So I found it interesting that the currency conversion part of all this. So there's that's a perfect need for the bridge asset, I think. So I found that pretty interesting. Now, when he was talking about this, he talked about the FSB. So the global regulator is going full steam to tame cryptocurrency. And this is a Reuters article that came out February 9th. What I found interesting is their regulators came late to the fast evolving cross-border world of crypto assets, but they could come up with their first global framework of rules within months. So months, and this is 2022, the FDIC is moving forward, and now the FSB is moving forward. And the FSB is backed by regulators, central banks, finance ministries, officials from the G20 economies. Now, one of the quotes down here is the current structure is no longer fit for purpose with the development of cross-border digital market activities, right? So he was describing, a system that would really value a bridge asset, and then the FSB is moving forward. So I found that pretty interesting. This is Nick D from CoinDesk. Listen to what he has to say.
Back and forth over the past year. Right now, it looks like we're still kind of in that process. The different attorneys for each party are trying to, define the scope of discovery, so the material that is provided to both the plaintiffs and the defendants. And a judge ruled recently, as in the past week, that some documents can remain sealed at the defendant's request, but other documents should not be. And, one of these documents seems to be a legal opinion secured by Ripple ahead of, it selling XRP way back in the day. The defendants seem to believe that this document will indicate that the Ripple, acted in good faith and did not try to sell securities when it began selling or facilitating XRP sales over the past several years. Although I will admit, this is a pretty interesting argument to me because we've seen this kind of before with the Simple Agreement for Future Tokens framework that, back in 2017, SAFs were meant to try and sell tokens without incurring the SEC's wrath, and the SEC wasn't really impressed. So I'm curious to see whether or not this argument holds up.
So early on, Ripple had documents that stated that XRP was not a security, and they acted in good faith, so they weren't malicious, and they were told it's a security, and then they ended up selling it. They were told that it wasn't a security, and it seems like the courts are accepting this. So now this is a KPMG article. This is a PDF that I found by KPMG. Now it says a blockbuster year for crypto and blockchain with $30 billion in investment globally. Investment in crypto and blockchain space soared in 2021, rising from $5.4 billion in 2020 to over $30 billion. Globally, there was an incredible increase in the level of recognition for the potential role of crypto and its underlying technology in modern financial systems. Increasing activity in this space has also sparked further action from central banks. So I found that pretty interesting. And this is BlackRock. So BlackRock is planning to offer crypto trading sources. So one of the largest institutions, so we saw from State Street, that's the second largest. Now BlackRock is probably the largest institution, is also working with crypto trading. So everybody's gearing up. So you've seen Solomon's video on the Central Bank of Russia testing RippleNet and the XRP ledger. So Russia moves to recognize crypto as a form of currency. So Russia banned crypto, now they accept it, and now they're saying that it's a form of currency. Now this is what I've been saying all along, is that the governments are never going to outright get rid of crypto because they need it. They need it for all the trouble that they've got themselves in over the years with the debt markets. And crypto assets is innovation that can lead us to prosperity. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments below.